Are you a Florida voter and are you intending to vote in the upcoming November 8th election? If you are, there are 3 constitutional amendments that are on the ballot that you need to know about, and I'm here to tell you about them. First amendment says, limitation on the assessment of real property used for residential purposes. Proposing an amendment to the state constitution, effective January 1st, 2023, to authorize the legislature by general law to prohibit the consideration of any change or improvement made to real property used for residential purposes to improve the property's resistance to flood damage in determining the assessed value of such property for ad valorem taxation purposes. Whew, that first bit, I don't know about you, but it is not language intended for you to easily understand it. So what does it mean? Well, they want to give people who improve their property, make it flood resistant, a tax break. If you improve your home, then the value of your home increases, and therefore the amount of taxes you have to pay increases. So while this amendment wasn't well written, y'all know that I am always in favor of a tax cut. And if you can improve your property so that you don't have to depend on the state if and when a hurricane or a flood situation happens, then by golly, I'm in favor of it. Vote yes on Amendment 1. Amendment 2 says, proposing an amendment to the state constitution to abolish the Constitutional Revision Commission, which meets at a 20-year intervals and is scheduled to next convene in 2037, as a method of submitting proposed amendments or revisions to the state constitution to electors of the state for approval. This amendment does not affect the ability to revise or amend the state constitution through citizen initiative, constitutional convention, the Taxation and Budget Reform Commission, or legislative joint resolution. Woo! Amendment 2, yeah, another one that was not written for us to understand easily. Amendment 2 is saying that there is this board that meets every 20 years to propose constitutional amendments for Florida. In order to get a constitutional amendment on the ballot, there are several ways. 1, the legislator proposes it, or 2, citizens collect petitions. If they get enough petitions signed, that's how we get a constitutional amendment. The cannabis one that passed in Florida, that was done by citizens. This is the last method. It is a group of people who basically come together every 20 years, but they're not elected officials. They are appointed by elected officials. People like the governor vote whether we want them or not. The problem with it is they put it all together and we had to vote if we wanted offshore drilling in the same amendment as if we wanted vaping. It doesn't quite work out that well for us in the long run. And honestly, having unofficial, unelected people making these type of proposals, I don't think it's right. I don't think we should be doing it. So I'm going to say vote yes on this amendment. Amendment 3. Additional homestead property tax exemption for specified critical public service workforce. Proposing an amendment to the state constitution to authorize the legislature, by general law, to grant additional homestead tax exemption for non-school levies up to $50,000 of the assessed value of homestead property owned by classroom teachers, law enforcement officers, correctional officers, firefighters, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, child welfare service professionals, active duty members of the United States Armed Forces, and Florida National Guard members. This amendment shall take place effective January 1st, 2023. This constitutional amendment sounds great. And you know I'm always in favor of a tax cut. However, with that said, I need to remind you guys that this is not the way to do it. The legislature is basically saying, hey, we really care about teachers and firefighters and police officers and the likes, paramedics, etc. And we want to give them a special benefit. Sounds great. But remember, with constitutional amendments, you can't really take it back. So for the rest of pretty much eternity, we are going to have a special tax break for these groups. Now remember, it could be a teacher who gets caught doing something to minors. They're still going to get that tax break because they're a teacher. What about a police officer that shot somebody? What about, the point is, if you want to reward behavior, do so. Please go ahead and pay these people more. They certainly deserve it. I am sure of this. What we don't deserve as taxpayers is to have everybody's tax burden made harder and lessened for some people. Also, a lot of firefighters and county employees make a lot of money. I've actually been going through the rolls, and there are some people that make 6-figure salaries. So again, I don't think that you should be burdening the elderly, the handicapped, people who have other issues with the tax burden of those who you could just raise their salary. I don't think that this is the intended purpose. And like I said, we're not going to be able to remove it if it doesn't work out. So this one is kind of important. Although you know I love tax breaks, I'm going to have to say no to this one. Vote no. You know what? Raise their salaries. Teachers, firefighters, police, they deserve more. Pay them more. But we don't deserve to take on more debt so that you can not pay them more.